All right, I'm gonna run us through some shoulder stabilization exercises. We're gonna start real easy and then I'll show you ways to progress. And then next time I see you, just let me know what works, what didn't, how the shoulders and elbows are feeling. First line of first rule is that the hips, shoulders, and ears form one straight line and the head stays locked and retracted back, fearful of the floor. So we're gonna get into a 8-point plank, which is elbows and knees, not sagging in the low back, not hanging in the head. And from this position, just get comfortable, something you could hold for 30 to 90 seconds without movement. And establish some support and stability here. Kind of push the knees away from the elbows like you're trying to spread the floor. Not only long ways, but wide, like you're trying to push your elbows out and your knees out. So just think of if you were on a block of ice, you wouldn't want to move anywhere if a wave hit that block of ice. And the first thing we're going to do is just transfer back and forth. So play with this. Range of motion is not important here. Motion itself is important. Keep the head away from the shoulders and just back and forth, making a pattern like this. So play with that for 30 seconds or so. Then we'll go back to center and we'll go left and right, almost dipping one elbow or shoulder down. Or you can go more narrow and do less of the shoulder drop. So with this side to side, you got two options. You can go wide and dip the shoulder down, nice and slow. Or you can go narrow and it's less of a shoulder dip. And again, range of motion not key, motion itself is key. And then also on the front to back, you can go narrow and wide as well. So I've got my elbows pretty narrow here, exploring that range of motion and going back and forth. Now I'm wider. And after you explore what I call that the plus sign, so that's the top and bottom of the plus sign, this is the left and right of the plus sign horizontally. And then from there we just make circles around that range of motion. And I'm going pretty big here. We can go nice and small. Again, start small, get bigger as you go and feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable, don't go bigger. And I'm gonna go narrow now and do my circles. This is awesome. Like this is one of those movements that no one really does because it looks easy, but my shoulders are already fried, and then we'll go the other direction in the narrow. Trying to keep the hips, shoulders, ears all in one straight line, not sagging, not dipping, everything in. I'm gonna take a breather. So the next position is the same one. You go narrow or wide, and then you're making your own patterns and getting creative with the directionality and the reversing of the directionality. So if I had a laser pointer or a paintbrush coming off of my chest like this, I'm drawing different shapes on the floor. And there's an infinity amount, narrow elbows here, of movements we can do. With that paintbrush, you could do an A, B, C, D, E, F, wide or narrow. So again, just play with that. After you've done front, back, side, side circles each way, then get really explorative. Feel free over time as the previous ones feel easier to start with the paintbrush execution. Do your alphabet backwards and forwards, and then start to make your own shapes. Like even think really abstractly and draw someone's face on the floor, and even get as weird as like pick somebody's face to draw. So think of an image and try to copy that image through the shoulders. The shoulders have a million movements they can do, probably actually infinity. We'd never move them in all the ways that we could because there's just so many combinations. So think combinations, abstract, really move that stuff around and try to make different shapes. Now once that starts feeling better, here's the progression we may or may not get into. And this I would prefer done wide with the knees, so not narrow, nice and wide so the hips are down a little bit. Bring the elbows close and narrow. You can even bring them this close where holding an arm, there's really not that much different exertion-wise. So this is one we'll do where you'll just grab the ribs and stabilize. We'll go back and forth. Again, very close, so it's non-exhaustive yet. And maybe it is, and that's okay. We'll just build some endurance here, back and forth. Or you can do one arm holds. And then that's where we can start to do the movement on one arm. But again, we want the knees wider, hips lower, elbows closer to the pelvis so we have a smaller base of support. So there's the one arms. Again, if I did it narrow with the knees out really far, now it's really tough. But I'm gonna bring the knees really wide, elbow in, and again, even right under the chest even. Small, small motions. Once you've got all that mastered, we'll go back to this one. And then we're gonna twist up. So we're gonna move the chest. That paintbrush is gonna come up off of the floor and point toward the camera or the wall to the left. And we'll go back and forth, opening that up. So again, maybe we don't do this yet, but just play with these, see how far you can go with each progression. The next one is going up and then moving around. So my belt buckle's pointed toward the camera a little more. I could just do back and forth rocks. That's the top and bottom vertical portion of the plus sign, and go side to side. That's the horizontal slash of the plus sign. Circles each way, and then draw pictures. Obviously your paintbrush is pointed this way, so you have to think a little differently with that. So rotations, different points of support and widths of support, different shapes, and again, only going as far as feels comfortable. And once one feels comfortable, one regression feels nice and good, progress nice and easy. Make a smaller base of support when you're getting a little funkier and single-armed with the movements, and take it very slowly. So do that, make sure you're breathing through all of those motions, and that is a great way to get the shoulders nice and stable, bypassing the elbow joint.